Hi, this is Zach Perry. Welcome back to the video. I'm going to talk a little bit about something I'm pretty excited about. And like a lot of other things we talk about, and like I've explained in the book, we're going to start with the IGIC. That's going to be the chassis of what we're doing because it's such a powerful way to hold money and to manage money. But I want to back up a little bit first and introduce the topic. We're going to talk about getting out of debt, using the IGIC to get out of debt. But let's start with that conventional wisdom that's probably holding you down and got you shackled. Okay, so that conventional wisdom says, first off, that you can only use your dollar in one place and that one of your first priorities should be to pay off your debt because debt is bad. That's the conventional wisdom. In fact, if you are familiar with a certain Southern radio talk show host, he'll tell you specifically what to do with your money in what order. First, you save up your 6-month emergency fund. Then you're going to attack your debt. You're going to attack your debt in a certain order. You're going to snowball it. You're going to scrimp and save. And then you're going to declare financial freedom when you're out of debt. And then you're going to start saving for retirement because when you look at your account, other than that 6-month emergency fund, you really don't have much in there. But there is a different way. There is a better way. We are going to use the IGIC as a way to get out of debt, not only faster than you could do otherwise, but better. So that at the end of the day, you've got money in your account. So when you are finally out of debt, you still have money because your dollar has been working for you in more than one place at once, which, by the way, is another tidbit of conventional wisdom that is just false. We tend to think of money linearly. It comes in, it goes out. There's one path. It may stay with us for a certain amount of time. It may not. We may spend it as soon as we earn it. We may stick it in a savings account for a while. We may invest it and let it grow and then spend it. But it only has one path. But that is not true. Money can work for us in more than one place at once, and the IGIC is a perfect way to do that. So I'm actually going to run down a few scenarios. These are 3 actual clients, 3 actual debt plans that we've drawn up. Now, we've changed the names. Client number 1 is John Doe, for example, and we have never had a client named John Doe, but we've changed the information, but the contact information, the names, but the data in there, we haven't changed. I want to show you what that looks like so you can see just how powerful this can be, whether you are a business owner with large long-term debts, whether you are a somewhat well-off person making a good wage with some necessary debts like student loans and mortgages, or whether you are on a smaller scale. This works well for anyone. We'll show you exactly how it works. But here's typically what we can promise. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but in almost every case, we can help you get out of all of your debt, including your mortgage, in 9 years or less without spending $1 more than you're currently spending. So let's turn to some slides. I'll show you how this works. The first person we're going to look at, this is the John Doe. This is someone who is, in their 40s, and they've got an amazing amount of debt. Okay, and if you look at this chart, what we've done is we've laid out the debts from the smallest to the biggest, from the shortest to pay off to the biggest, the longest. So he's got a total of $1.257 million in debt, and depending on the interest rate and the balance, it'll take him anywhere from 4.6 years to pay off the smallest or the quickest debt. That's the $38,000 Western Security debt. 4.6 years under his current plan if he keeps making his monthly payment of $796. And his last debt, this Billings Federal $109,000 debt with a 5.5% interest rate that he's paying $529 a month, that's a 55.6 year debt repayment plan. And so time, remember, when we're talking about interest, time either amplifies interest in your favor or amplifies interest against you, because interest will either work for you or against you. And in this case, when it's debt, interest is working against you. In fact, we have calculated what the interest expense is on each debt on his current trajectory. So on his first Western Security debt, for example, the balance of which is $38,404, if this person, John Doe, continues to make the monthly payment of $796, then in month 55, year 4.6, he will have paid off the debt and will have paid a total of $43,780, which includes the $38,404 principal plus the $5,376 interest. So all told, this person's real debt is not the $1.257 million. We have to take into account the $683,000 of interest that he will pay over the course of his debt repayment plan. And we calculate his real debt at $1.94 million. Now, that's not a pretty place to be in. When you are in your 40s, this individual this year is 44, and his debt repayment plan will take him to age 99.6. That's not a situation you want to be in. It's not a situation he wanted to be in. So let me show you what we can do. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to find out how much money we can free up in his current debt plan. If he's making if he's overpaying on any of those debts, we're going to take the difference and we're going to stick that in an IGIC, and we're only going to make the minimum payment. Now, that's counterintuitive because you think you want to pay as much as you can towards the debt to pay it off sooner to reduce the amount of interest. The problem with that thinking is that you're thinking linearly and you're only using that dollar once. And it's true. If you can only use a dollar once, that's going to be your best plan. Pay off the debt as quick as you can. Now, he's obviously not doing this because 55.6 years is not quick by any means. But if he instead sticks as much as he can into the insurance contract, then every dollar that he sticks in there is going to work for him for the rest of his life. It's going to earn for him, and it's going to be used as collateral to pay off these debts. So here's our plan. We can take his 55.6-year plan, we can turn it into a 9-year debt repayment plan. Save him $349,167 in interest. Here's how we're going to do it. We've got the same debts laid out, but instead of just putting your money towards the debt, in fact, this guy, he decided once we looked at his books, we were able to take $4,000 of a month that he was already spending towards debt and other things and redirect that money and put it into an IGIC. So with $4,000 a month going into an IGIC, the plan is this. Once the cash value, because remember an IGIC has a death benefit and it has a cash value component. Once the cash value reaches a point where 80% of it matches the balance of the debt, the smallest debt, and here you'll see we've put it in order of smallest to biggest, irregardless of interest rate. The smallest debt is $18,000. So once the cash value of his account reaches a point where $18,000 is 80% of the balance, he's going to take a loan against his own money, pay the $18,000 off. That debt is gone. That 8.99% interest that was accruing is gone. And that $150 a month payment he was making towards interest and the balance is now going towards him. So now instead of $4,000 a month going into his insurance contract, he's now got $4,150 going into his insurance contract. And he's got one fewer debt, which by the way, in his case was month 10. So you'll recall on the other plan, his earliest debt was going to be repaid in year 4.6, month 55, I think. Now his earliest debt is paid off in month 10. And now that $150 that was going, a big chunk of that towards interest is going towards him. So we're going to do the same thing. In month 20, his second biggest debt, that $28,636, his cash value will be large enough that 80% of it will equal $28,636, and he'll be able to pay off that loan. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind, if you were to compare the numbers from this chart to the other chart, you would see, or actually from the fourth to last column called balance and the second to last column called payoff, the balance of the first loan is $18,000, but 10 months into it, it's going to be $17,844. That just shows you how much goes towards interest, because in 10 months, he'll have paid $1,500 and his balance will only have gone down by $156. So now that difference goes to him, and it's the same, right? Every month that goes by, the payoff amount shrinks because he's been making his minimum payment in the meantime. And then when the payoff amount reaches 80% of the cash value, that's when you pay it off. And then when the second debt is paid off in month 20, he now has another $330 that was going to pay for interest in the debt that now goes towards himself. So instead of $4,000, he's now putting $4,480 towards his own plan. So it's going to him. And then every time he pays off another debt, that number balloons to the point where in year 9, when he pays off his house, he'll have $11,779 a month that was going towards debt when he started this plan, that's now going towards himself. So here's what we can do for him. Remember, and if you look at this chart at the bottom with the green and the red, at the beginning, his plan was to be debt-free at 55.6 years. Now it's 9 years. The interest that he would have paid under his original plan was $683,000. Now he's only paying about half of that at $334,000. That other half of the insurance goes to him. Now liquidity. This is how much money that if in year 56, when he would have paid off his debt, or year 55.6, he would have had no money because it all would have gone towards debt. Under this plan, because he's redirected those debt payments to himself, he now has almost $15 million in liquid, tax-free assets, plus a $15.8 million death benefit. So crazy the difference. Let's look at someone who's a little bit smaller scale. This is someone who just graduated from medical school. So they're, for the first time in their life, they're making a decent wage, but they have also racked up $220,000 in student loans. They had just purchased a house when they graduated for $271,000, and they bought a car for $30,000. So those are their 3 debts. They've got $500,000 in debt. They're making almost $4,000 of payments towards that debt. And at the end of the 29.7 years, which is when his final debt would have been paid off, his mortgage, he will have paid a total of $325,000 in interest with $847,000. So his real debt is not the $522,000 that's the balance, it's the $847,000 that he will have repaid under his current repayment plan. So we were able to take his 29.7 year debt, reduce it to 7.1 years, so that his car, his student loans, and his personal residence would all be paid off. We do it the same way we did with John Doe, and that is we're going to roll over that. The car, by the way, will be paid off in 10 months. The $30,000 balance paid off in 10 months. That $525 monthly payment now goes to him. And it's the same thing with the student loans, which get paid off in year 4, and the personal residence that gets paid off in year 7.1. So what's the long-term look like for him? Well, originally his debt-free year would have been year 30. Now it's 7.1. Instead of paying $325,000 in interest, he's paying $131,000. And instead of being debt-free but broke at the end of 30 years, now at the end of 30 years, he's got $3.6 million tax-free cash, and he's got $7 million in death benefit. Not bad. Let's look at one other one, a little bit smaller scale. Someone who has only $55,000. This is basically consumer debt. $55,000 in consumer debt. Current repayment plan is 4.5 years. So this is smaller scale. This is not near as daunting as the other two. And under the current debt repayment, they're going to take 4.5 years to pay back $55,000, resulting in total repayment of $68,512 after the $13,000 in interest. So not too bad. Still a lot of consumer debt. We're able to whittle this down to 2.1 years, save them almost half of the money in interest, and their debt repayment plan looks like this. Their debt-free year is now 2.1 instead of 4.5. They're only paying $7,000 in interest instead of $13,000. And at the end of year 5, which is when they would have been out of debt but broke, they now have $146,000 liquid tax-free cash, plus almost $1 million death benefit. So it really is pretty much a no-brainer. If you reach out to me, you can find my contact information on my website, ZachariahPerry.com. I will run this scenario for you for free. And if it's something you're interested in doing, if it makes sense to you, I will implement this program for you for free. No costs, no consultation fee. You'll never write me a check to participate in this program. If you are interested, reach out. Make sure we put a smile on your face. If the person who answers the phone does not, you let me know, because we take smiling pretty seriously around here.